right, so something new in the shop. Our friends at Keegan Imports asked us to tune this Lancia Delta, and it turned into a really cool adventure. We learned a lot. We did a lot of things that we weren't really sure we could do. So we're just kind of making a video to share it. Enjoy. All right, so our first hurdle with tuning this car was this guy. So this is like a pretty old Bosch ECU, and obviously there's nothing we can do about tuning it, but we were trying to fix what the customer's complaints were, which was this thing had pretty bad hesitation all over the RPM range. We baselined it on the dyno. It was really rich, where it didn't need to be. Startup was So we took this out and realized we don't know where to get this header. But we got lucky, and it was an eBay lucky. Some store in Italy happened to sell us this header. And what that allowed us to do is it allowed us to install an aftermarket ECU without having to cut anything up. So now we can make a plug-and-play harness that will allow us to install this little guy. So that is going to be a Motec M130, utilizing a custom firmware that we work with that basically turns any car, no matter the age, no matter really the setup, into something that's going to drive like a 2026 car off the lot. So I'm going to put some pictures up now of the harness and of the install, and then we'll talk a little more about some other cool things that we had to do to make this thing look like we never touched it. Okay, so after we got this ECU plugged in, then came the next hurdle, which was figuring out what pin was which. Diagrams for this thing are limited. There wasn't a whole lot of info on the internet. We had to do basically a pin-by-pin breakdown of what we were working with, and finally, it worked. We got the engine sync. Not a super common trigger pattern, but it was there. Motec had it, and luckily the injectors were an easy information. We have an injector tester. We could just flow everything and verify where we need to be. And just like that, we had a running car. But we had an issue. These cars, I believe it was a factory option. I'm not super sure. I'm not gonna claim to know everything about them. Came with this cool little diagnostic screen here that basically just kind of gave the driver some basic engine data along with some warnings. Apparently that got its information directly from the ECU, which is no longer there. So that's where a Motec D153 comes into play. These are little gauges that we were actually able to, well, basically perfectly recreate the factory setup. That's actually what it looked like. And we were also able to mimic the mounting. So this is basically exactly what this looked like, except now we have all the modern data. It's gonna have warnings, knock, low oil pressure, overheating, a bunch of stuff. And it's not the only display. If we want to, we simply hit this button here, and we can actually go through other different settings. Excuse the default, that's just we don't have the gears set up yet, but that's coming. But yeah, that lets the driver go through and basically pick whether he wants to look at the same screen that it had before, or if he wants something a little more modern with a little more information on it. So that was a cool little touch. We're glad that we were able to pull that off. It really modernized the car without changing any of the, of the core values of it, I guess. But yeah, this thing came out great. It's a modern car, starts right up, drives effortlessly. It's just a completely different car, and we're just excited to be allowed to work on such a cool project. And we're really excited that the end result was as good as it was, because taking an old car like this and turning it into basically just a modern light car with all the features while still maintaining the original, original flavor that it had, I think it's something really, really, really awesome, and I'm glad we were able to pull it off. All right, to conclude this, let's just kind of go over what was the point of going this route. So like we spoke about, drivability, startups, all that stuff. If you ever had a car tuned by us, you know that we kind of obsessed with the cold starts and the consistency and just, no hiccups, no stalling, no nonsense, just as smooth a car as possible. So that's the first thing we got. The next thing is it allowed us to monitor the engine. This now has an oil pressure sensor, oil temperature, fuel pressure, a 4.9 LSU Bosch wideband sensor, where we were able to decipher the knock sensors of this thing and actually, use them correctly. So, whereas this engine before could have had any sort of catastrophic failure from a small thing like a clogged fuel filter, an oil leak, something beyond your control. Now all of that is out the door, right? We have warnings in place, safeties in place, things that keep the driver behind the wheel instead of on the side of the road with a very expensive car that now is going to need a very expensive repair that you may not even be able to find the part for. That's the big one. This little guy saves the engine once, and everything here is worth it. So yeah, in conclusion, that's it. That was the journey. Hope you liked it. We're considering doing more videos like this. We get a lot of requests for people that just kind of want to hear the story about some of the cars that we build and tune. So if this is something you found interesting, I guess comment below, let us know, and we'll keep at it.